I flew cross country for almost nothing to Death Valley, and Pam came along too. Our total cost for this 4-day Death Valley speed run, including the Sphere at Las Vegas, the car, the lodging, and the food, was $800. In this video, I'm going to show you how we did it. We're about to board our first Frontier flight using our Go Wild Pass. And we have the enthusiasm and optimism of people who are starting their vacation. So let's see how well this all works out. I'm watching the boarding process and it's going really smoothly. There's no fights breaking out or anything. So I think the internet lied to us about this. Yeah, boarding was drama-free. The seats are a little tight and a little hard, but it's not bad. So it's a little tight. Our plane let us off at gate E21, and our next flight is at gate E20. It's midnight here in Las Vegas, which means it's 3 a.m. to our Florida brains, but the flight was pretty uneventful. Actually, it was really simple. In Las Vegas, we stayed at the Homewood Suites by Hilton. It was by the airport, and we picked that place for two reasons. One was the free shuttle from the airport to the hotel, which saved us on Uber fees. And the other was the full breakfast, so we didn't have to go out and try to find breakfast or pay for breakfast. It was a free full breakfast. And when I say full breakfast, it was a full breakfast. I had oatmeal, English muffin with cream cheese, bacon. There was a waffle making station. Pam made these breakfast burritos, coffee, tea, had some juice. So yeah, it was a great way to start the day. The hotel cost $150, and this is where I kind of fudged the total $800 price I was talking about because I used my Capital One points to pay for it, so it actually didn't cost me anything. I highly recommend it. The only two problems were, one, Pam thought the mattress was a little too soft, and two, it's right by the airport, so in the morning you're awakened by the sound of roaring airplane engines. But I think the shuttle tune from the airport and the full breakfast in the morning more than makes up for it. One last funny story, at least I think it's a funny story. We get off the plane and I call the hotel and I say, could you send us the shuttle? And she says, well, what airline did you fly in? I said, Frontier. She goes, oh, you're Terminal 3. Just go to door 53. We'll meet you there. And I'm like, what's door 53? That doesn't mean anything to me. And she says, it's a door that says 53. And I said, okay. And guess what? There is a door that says 53. And the shuttle did pick us up. They pick you up every hour on the hour. Okay, we're starting our Death Valley adventure in Las Vegas with our super cute Subaru Outback. So we got in the car and took off to Death Valley. But the first stop is Pahrump, Nevada, which is your last chance to buy inexpensive gasoline and cheap food. Because once you get into the park, everything is much more expensive. We stopped at the Walmart and loaded up on groceries. After getting our supplies in Pahrump, we started off for our hotel in Stovepipe Wells. It was a couple hours drive, but we were in no rush. We couldn't check in till late afternoon anyway. And there were several sights to see along the way. But I made the trip even longer because I kept pulling over the car and saying, Pam, take pictures of me, because the scenery was so spectacular. And if you get the heebie-jeebies from vast, wide open areas with absolutely no one else around where it's perfectly quiet, well, then I have the place for you. Because Pam and I were starting to learn that Death Valley's a little creepy. And what really drove the point home was our first stop, Death Valley Junction. Now, I did no research on this, but there's some opera house there, which I'm sure has a rich history, but all it did was make Pam and me a little bit nervous. We were like, we could probably get in to get a tour, but would they let us back out? Anyway, we took a quick picture and hightailed it out of there because it was just odd. The next stop along our trip was one of my favorites. It was Dante's View. It's a bit of a drive and it's uphill and there's a lot of switchbacks, so be ready for that. But once you get to the top, it's really quite spectacular. And you can stay on the paved parts of it, but you can also wander off in the hills. So we did that just a little bit. There were several real hikers out there with walking sticks and things like water so they don't die, that apparently had gone much deeper into the desert. But it was enough for us to go a little bit up the hill and look around. My wife wouldn't let me go to Angel's Landing, but she let me climb up here. After that was Zabriskie Point, which looks pretty cool, but the sun had started to set in the west and was right in our eyes, and we really couldn't appreciate it. I think you have to get there at dawn, so the sun's coming like the other way, and you can get a better look. Now, there was a photographer there who had this camera that probably cost more than our car, and he said it was great because the shadows and the textures and all that. So it's cool, but I think we came at the wrong part of the day. Now it was time to get to our hotel. There's 3 hotels to choose from in Death Valley National Park. There's the Inn at Death Valley, which is super expensive. There's the Ranch at Death Valley, which is really, really expensive. And then there's Stovepipe Wells, which is only expensive. We chose Stovepipe Wells, and there's a couple other good reasons to choose that one, actually. First of all, you're way out in the desert. The other 2 are kind of more like resorts, and this is a very simple, basic hotel. But it was a good hotel. It was clean. People were nice. There's a restaurant and a saloon there on site. I mentioned there's a restaurant there, but we stopped in Pahrump and got our supplies at Walmart. So we had dinner in our room and made some delicious sandwiches, and it cost us $0. However, then I went over to the saloon and kind of blew the budget. Pam stayed in the room and caught up with a Hallmark movie featuring our favorite Hallmark star, Brooke Dorsey. And speaking of stars, if you want to see every star in the night sky, just wait till the sun goes down. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. You'll see every star in the universe. I tried to take some pictures, and I only had my iPhone and a $9 tripod from Amazon, but I still got these pictures. It kind of gives you an idea of what's out there. Another good thing about being at Stovepipe Wells is that you're really close to the dunes, which is a major attraction. You would think there'd be sand dunes all over the desert, but really this is one of the only places within the whole national park where you'll see the dunes. So Pam and I went out there before the sun came up. It was kind of cold, but it was really cool to watch the colors change as the sun rose. Pam kind of stood closer to the car and enjoyed the view from there, but I set off and went a little bit deeper. She waved to me as I walked away. When we started this adventure, we weren't really sure how many days we needed in Death Valley. But after seeing all the sights on the way to our hotel, the dunes in the morning, and our plans to see Badwater Basin in the afternoon, we realized that 2 days and 1 night was really enough. So our plan was to catch a afternoon flight out of Las Vegas to Dallas-Fort Worth on Wednesday, and then wake up the next day and go from Dallas-Fort Worth to Jacksonville. However, Frontier Airlines had other plans for us. The Go Wild Pass only sells you seats that haven't been sold yet. That's why they're so cheap. And all the seats had been sold, leaving us with the only option of a 1 a.m. flight out of Las Vegas. But more about that later. Let's talk about Badwater Basin, because I don't know if Dante's View or Badwater Basin was my favorite, because they're both so cool. Badwater Basin's claim to fame is it's the lowest point in North America. Its other claim to fame is that it's really spectacular. There's a sign up on the cliff wall that shows you what sea level is. And there's a cool Instagram-worthy sign down at the bottom, which you can take where you're at the lowest point. It's almost an hour drive to get from Stovepipe Wells to Badwater Basin. In fact, if you go to Death Valley, there's a lot of driving. Wikipedia says that it's 3,000 square miles of national park, but the trip is totally worth it. We finished up at Badwater Basin around 11 a.m. And like I said, our flight out of Las Vegas was at 1 a.m. So that gave us, even with a 2-hour arrive early at the airport, that's still 12 hours to burn in Las Vegas. It was about a 2.5-hour drive back. We really took our time. And on the way, we decided, hey, let's go see the show at the Sphere, because we hadn't been to the Sphere. The show was The Wizard of Oz, and you can see they kind of crushed the Wicked Witch of the East with the Sphere, which I thought was kind of cute. And the movie was really cool. It's basically The Wizard of Oz, but all digitally redone, and they take the movie and then expand it all the way out around you, you know. So they've added a lot of details, a lot of background, and the sound and the motion and everything. It's really cool. After the show, we really didn't want to walk around or gamble. We were pretty tired at this point. So we sat in our car, which was parked right by the Sphere, and finished the rest of our food, and then said, forget it. Let's just go to the airport. So we topped off the gas tank, dropped the car off at Avis, caught the shuttle back to the airport, and then it was just a long slog waiting for that plane, trying to stay awake. We kind of slept in and out the whole way back. Got to Jacksonville, I think around 11:30 in the morning. In conclusion, I feel our trip was a great success. Pam and I really enjoyed it. I would go back in a heartbeat. For Pam, once was enough. I wouldn't really change anything. I would stay at Homewood Suites. I would stay at the Stovepipe Wells Hotel. I would rent a car from Avis. I'd even get the Outback. The only thing I would try to improve was our flight schedule, because that is a lot of flying and a lot of sitting around at the airport. But otherwise, fantastic trip.
Creepy and desolate and unwelcoming and harsh. What are words?
Remote. Uphill.